top of the feet and your thumbs on the big toe base joint, and turn the soles of the feet up toward the ceiling.
See you. And
there I am.
There you are.
Then use your hands and turn the skin of your calf flesh up toward the ceiling so that the calf flesh is externally rotating from the inside out. Put your hands on the top of your thighs and turn the thighs from the inside out as well. That turning of the thighs, you should also really feel the sitting bones draw in toward each other. And that sitting bone movement drawing in cultivates also what's called mula bandha, where your perineum contracts and draws in and lifts up a little bit. Press the tops of the feet down into the floor and energetically lift your ankles up, and you'll feel some lift come all the way up into the chest. Lengthen up through your side ribs. Make yourself as tall as you can from the pelvis, through the waist, through each individual rib, all the way up into the armpits. Make yourself tall. Keep that height and roll your shoulder bones back. Bring your shoulder blades closer together on your back, away from your neck and into the center of the body and up a little bit so that you really feel, in addition to the lift of the chest, there's also a broadening where you can really feel those outer collarbones lift as well. Then, maintaining that, bring your palms together and put your thumb on your sternum and your forearms at the base of the rib cage. With your thumbs, lift your sternum up and you'll feel the chest lift more, but you'll also feel the trapezius release away from your neck a bit. With your forearms, also lift up so that the rib cage lifts, and again, you'll feel more lift coming into the outer collarbone. Then one more time, lift up with your thumbs so you feel that trapezius descend, and follow that descent of your trapezius with your mind and close your eyes. For me, it actually almost happens automatically when I feel that trapezius descend. It's like a signal for my eyes to descend as well. And that begins that process of the involution of consciousness, which is one of the many things that we're cultivating through the practice of yoga, where we consciously decide to turn the awareness from the outer world, from the external circumstance of our life, from all that's going on out there, outside of the Zoom room, to the inner world, the inner landscape of you, the domain of yoga. Use your exhalations to take your awareness there. I was realizing this week when I was teaching my yoga classes at Baylor that one of the, actually really the first concrete thing that Patanjali really tells us to do as a practice is to turn the awareness toward the divine, which he uses several sutras to describe. And then even more specifically, he says to chant Om, knowing that Om is a representation of the divine. We're going to do that in just a second. But the next concrete thing that Patanjali actually really talks about is, having friendliness and compassion and upeksha and all of those things. But he also focused specifically on the exhalation and the pause that occurs at the end of the exhalation. So let your mind take on the qualities of that pause so that it becomes more serene, more sattvic, more still. And from that still place within, let's chant 3 Oms together, knowing that that sound of the Om represents whatever sense of the divine that you conjure up. Not like you're making it up, but whatever resonance that has for you. Even if it's just the sound of Om itself as a symbol of the energy of the cosmos. Follow that sound with your mind. Follow the reverberation of the sound with your mind. And then from that space, inhale once more, lifting your chest with your forearms and your thumb. Keeping your chest well lifted and broad, bring your hands down to your thighs and your chin down to your chest with your chest still well lifted. A little bit of Jalandhara Bandha then here at the beginning as well. And then raise your head and open your eyes. All right, stay in Swastikasana on this side. Stretch your fingers out, arms out, and interlace your fingers and turn your palms toward me. Extend, notice which finger you've got on top. I've got my left finger on top. All right, then extend from your elbows through your wrist bones. Pull back from the little finger into the outer shoulder. Then reach your hands all the way up above your head. I know you can't see my arms right now on the screen, but they're just lifting up. Pressing the feet down, energetically lift the ankles up. Lift up so much that you feel the sides of the ribs extend, and you also feel that abdomen draw in and up a little bit, so you actually get a little bit of Uddiyana Bandha as well. Then get even more length, reach your hands just into Urdhva Hastasana, stretching out. Then we're going to fold forward into Adho Mukha Swastikasana, but as you fold forward, look forward. Have your hands in front of you. And I want you to go forward, but I don't want you to round your back. Okay? So you're going to extend from the pubic region through the abdomen, through the side ribs. Look forward so it helps keep your thoracic spine in. And then wiggle your fingers as far forward as you can without rounding your back or with minimal rounding of the back. We're going to go actually towards some backward bending work today, but we're doing it via some work of releasing the front groin, releasing the groins and some forward bends. Then walk your hands over so that they're kind of out diagonally in front of your right knee. Extend, front, release that left pelvic bone's inner groin down. And from there, extend through the whole left side of your body with your fingers. And then also extend through the right body with your fingers. Keep on looking forward so that you try and keep the lower back, upper back from rounding. Then wiggle yourself back to the center. So you're extending from the pubis through each individual rib, all the way up through the armpits, through the fingers. Notice that you get a little bit further, having just gone to the side like that. And then go over to the other side. And descend that right groin and sitting bone down. And from there, extend the right side of your torso forward. Wiggle your fingers to the left side and extend. And then go ahead and bring yourself way, way, way forward, extending forward again. Now, as you come up, try and keep that length in the front of the body as you sit all the way back up. And just notice how that bending forward action releases the groin downward. Okay, so that you should feel a little bit more depth in the groin having done that. Stretch your legs out into Dandasana, staff pose. Remember, you're going to do your opposite finger and your opposite interlace on the next side. Then, when you come into be in Dandasana, spread your palms. Push your palms down into the floor so you get even more lift up into the sides of the ribs. Engage your leg muscles well. And stretch your arms out. Reach your legs up so that you're doing Navasana. Reach up and do Ubaya Padangusthasana, sneaking the ab work in early. From Ubaya Padangusthasana, come back to Navasana. Go to Ardha Navasana, back to Navasana, and down to Dandasana. I just turned to the side so you could see that, but you don't yourself have to turn to the side. All right, then come back and sit on your blankets, if you're using them, and cross your legs the opposite way. Use your hands and turn the soles of the feet up toward the ceiling. Use your hands and also move the calf flesh up toward the ceiling. Use your hands and move your thigh flesh from the inside out. And so you feel the sitting bones draw in, which cultivates that Mula Bandha work. Stretch your arms all the way out. Interlace your fingers the opposite way. So now I've got my right finger on top. Extend from the elbows through the wrist bones with your palms toward the screen. Pull the little finger back into the outer shoulder. Reach your arms all the way up into Urdhva Padangusthasana. Straighten your arms as much as you can. Lift up so much that you feel the side ribs get long, but also hopefully that you feel the abdomen draw in and up a little bit. So you've got the Mula Bandha with the cross of the legs. You've got the Uddiyana Bandha by reaching up with your arms. And a little bit later, we'll add some of the Jalandhara Bandha work. Then release your hands so they're just in Urdhva Hastasana, and you can lift up even more. Really feel that lift coming all the way from the base of the pelvic region. Now, as you lean forward, go ahead and look forward. Keep the front of the body as long as you can. Extend from the pubis, through the abdomen, through the collarbones, reach forward, and then extend forward as much as you can. Again, try not to let the lower back round. So for me, sometimes it helps to put hands up on blocks. Other times I really have to look forward, so I'm not letting the dorsal hump, as Lori talks about it, our dorsal horn, come out as much as possible. So I'm not going as flop down to the floor, but I'm really working on extending the front body. Then walk your fingers to the right again. You can even use your hands and move the abdomen flesh from left to right so that you can extend from that pelvic region all the way up through the front side of the body. Descend your groins, walk your fingers out. Then come back to the center, and you may find that you can go just a little bit lower, extending forward. Then go to the other side. You can use your hands and move your abdominal flesh from right to left so that you can go more easily down on the left side. And then wiggle your fingers forward so you come forward. Again, keep extending from the pubis all the way through the front of the body. And then make yourself even taller as you come all the way back to the center. And stretch your legs out into Dandasana. Join your big toes together. Spread your other toes wide apart. From the little toe, draw all the way up into the outer hips. So you really look at your legs and they should feel firmer. You should feel that lift coming all the way up into the chest. If you're on some height, now slide off of it so we can do our little abdominal flow. Okay. So you've got Dandasana, lifting up through the side ribs. Straighten your legs. Lift up into Navasana. Up to Ubhaya Padangusthasana. Back to Navasana. Ardha Navasana. Navasana. Dandasana. And then do a downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So come forward on your hands and your knees. Place your hands down. Spread your palms well. Turn your triceps from the inside out. And then just feel the effect of the release of the groin and the abdominal work on your downward facing, your first dog of the day. So hopefully, what I feel, at least when I'm doing it, is that the groin work has helped my heels release down to the ground. The Uddiyana Bandha work, you should also feel the effect of that here, that your abdomen's drawn a little bit more in toward the spine. And rather than walking your feet toward your hands, go ahead and walk backwards or move backwards and walk your hands toward your feet so that you can be in Uttanasana. And if your back is ready for it this morning, go ahead and interlace your hands and your elbows and extend the sides of the torso down toward the floor. I'm looking for my sequence. I just have misplaced it, so that's why I'm kind of walking around. Again, if it feels too much on your back this early on, you can just keep your hands on the floor and stay down in Uttanasana. If you are doing the Baddha Hastasana, switch the cross of the hand and the elbows and extend downwards. You're really getting lots of length in your spine. And place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back as you come all the way up. All right, so I've got two blinds, stand in Tadasana, and just notice a little bit just in Tadasana, the opening of the front groin that occurs as you're here. Sorry. So we're gonna do more of that, but just notice kind of first time around that you've got more opening in the front groin, right? More depth in the front groin. And in just a second, we're gonna do some of that similar work in Baddha Konasana, and you're gonna feel more width coming across the groin. Okay? So they're really, in terms of the front groin, there are really three qualities, let's say, that we're going after. There's the depth, where the groin releases back toward the wall behind you. There's width that you'll get in something like Baddha Konasana that we're going to do next, but there's also length. And that length in the front groin comes with a corresponding work of moving your hamstrings and your buttocks toward each other, but that length in the front groin is really the backward bending action that we really want. So we're creating depth and we're creating width ultimately in order to get more length in the front groin. Okay. So this time when you're on your blankets, you could use a bolster and a blanket roll in front if you wanted to, but it's a little high given that we're going to bend forward. Okay, so I'm flipping my blankets so that they're longer. I've still got 2 blankets. And I'm sitting a little, sitting a little further back. Hey, Kristen, welcome, on the blankets, so that I can put my heels up on the blanket as well. Okay, so I've got 1 foot in Baddha Konasana with my heel and my ankle on the blanket. And then I bring the other leg up. Okay, so the heels are elevated slightly. Take your hands back behind you for support. You can also take the support of the wall if you want. And probably you'll already feel in Baddha Konasana, as opposed to the work in Swastikasana, you'll probably already feel that this gives you the width that I was talking about in the groin, right? Okay, then keeping that width in the groin, if you can. Okay. I'm actually going to use bricks here because it's a lot harder for me. Put the hands on the bricks. And you want to lengthen up through the front of the body. So you want to maintain that as much as you can as you try and look forward and walk a little bit forward, press your heels together. Okay? And you don't want to compress anything in the front of the body. Okay? So if you feel that, like I'm actually feeling right now, my back is rounding and there's kind of a clenching in my front abdomen, and I don't want that. Okay? What I want instead is to look up, look forward. So I'm using that forward extension to create more length and more space in the front of the body. So I'm actually not going down very much for me. Now, some of you may be able to go quite down, okay, and also keep that extension in the front body, but it's rather difficult to do. And just keep on extending forward. All right. Then come all the way back up into Baddha Konasana again. Lengthen up from the pubis all the way up through the crown of the head. And see, I mean, I can feel what happened is in that forward movement, even though I didn't go down very far. Okay? Now my knees have actually released a little bit more, and there's more width that's come into the pelvic region. And so forward bending helps you, that pressure and the release of forward really helps you release and open the groins. And then place your hands on the outside of your knees. Pull your knees together. Stretch your legs out straight into Dandasana. And I forgot to mention in this abdominal work that, you know, obviously if you're on your cycle or if it bothers your lower back or whatever, you don't have to engage in that part of the sequence. You can just stay in Dandasana and be in Dandasana here and work on lifting up through the chest. Okay, but for people who aren't on their cycle, don't have lower back issues, go ahead and add the abdominal work in. Okay, so you're in Dandasana, come up into Navasana, up into Ubaya Panangushtasana, back to Navasana, Ardha Navasana, Navasana, come into Dandasana. All right, then go ahead and sit back into Dandasana. Bring your feet out about the distance of your sticky mat. Okay, so they don't have to be super wide. like Upavishta Konasana, but a little bit wide. I'm moving my own blankets out of the way, partly just so I can move back a little further and the camera will work a little bit better. Yeah. So you're gonna take your right hand on the inside of your right knee and keep the knee out wide as you turn the foot and put the foot into Siddhasana shape. You can do whatever manual adjustments with your legs that you would like to do. All right, then take your other leg up and put one foot on top of the other foot so that you're in the pose that I refer to as foot on foot. Put your hands back behind you for support so you can really get that same lift coming from the pubis all the way up through the front of the body. The back skin of the back body actually descends away from the neck. And this one, for me, even more than Baddha Konasana, I really feel the width coming into the pelvic region pretty extensively. Okay, now you're gonna take your hand underneath the little toe side of your top foot, which for me is my right foot, probably is for you as well, because I didn't decide to mirror you. Okay, and then you're gonna just move the knee back and lift the foot over to the outside of your bottom Siddhasana leg. And then move it back into foot on foot and do that 2 more times. So you're going from foot on foot all the way over to the outside of your leg. I'm calling that, well, particularly when you're in Swastikasana, overshot Padmasana. Right, and then back to the center. And one more time, all the way over. Yeah. And then back to the center. Stretch your legs out into Dandasana. Go ahead and do your little, if you're engaging in it, go ahead and do your little, what do you call it? Abdominal flow. Okay, so Dandasana, Navasana, Navasana, Ubaya Padangusthasana, Ubaya Padangusthasana, Navasana, Navasana, Ardha Navasana, Navasana, Dandasana. Sit up straight and tall. All right, now you're gonna do your other side. So have your feet out to about the level of your sticky mat. Bring your bottom foot into Siddhasana. Turn the foot, turn the calf, turn the thigh as you want to. Then put the little toe side foot of on your arch of your right foot, foot on foot. Feel that width that really it comes into the groin. I'm feeling it particularly on the left side. Okay, whatever foot is on top, I'm really feeling a nice release coming there. Have your fingers back behind you for support so you can really get some nice length coming into the front groin. Front pubic region all the way up into the top chest. All right, then you're gonna go that foot on foot action again. Okay, so sorry, the swinging action again. So you're gonna put your hands underneath the top foot, move your knee a little bit out to the left, and then way over, almost like you're trying to go into Ardha Matsyendrasana. And come back to foot on foot. Do that 2 more times. So the leg's gonna go out, you're gonna move it over, and back to foot on foot. And see that the groin is releasing each time you do that. And one more time, up, over, back to foot on foot. Stretch your legs out straight into Dandasana and feel that your groin is descending and you've got more lift coming all the way up into the chest. All right, rather than the Navasana, Ardha Navasana this time around, go ahead and do another downward facing dog. So spread your palms, extend from your elbows through your fingers, turn your toes under, and push back into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Push your hands down and forward as you bring the weight of the pose back into your legs. Keep pushing your hands down and forward and feel the effect of all that groin work. Is the weight coming more and more and more back from your leg? Can you feel that abdomen drawing more into the spine? All right, good. And then bend your knees and come down. And come back into foot on foot with your right foot on top. Okay, then just take your right leg in front of you. Okay. Then from foot on foot for the bottom leg, pull the leg into swastikasana. So your knee is going to be going a little bit more forward toward the screen rather than out to the side. Okay. I actually have my leg lined up, my femur bone is lined up pretty evenly with the side of my sticky mat. Now, when you bring your right leg back up into foot on foot, what's going to happen is that your torso is going to end up being turned at a diagonal. That's fine. Okay. We changed the base of the pose, so here we are at the diagonal. We don't usually sit at a diagonal, but here we are. Okay. All right, so you're going to do that foot on foot to overshot Padmasana again. And on the third time, you're going to leave your little toe side of the foot in Padmasana. All right. So here you are. You've got holding onto the foot. Try for overshot Padmasana. Back to foot on foot. Feel the release that comes in the groin. Overshot Padmasana. Back to foot on foot. And then the third time, overshot Padmasana, but then wiggle the foot into Padmasana. And then you can even yourself back out at your screen. If Padmasana isn't coming for you today, or half Padmasana isn't coming for you today, don't stress out about it. Just repeat the swastikasana again. Okay. If you can, also do full Padmasana this early on in class. Go ahead and do it. If you can't, you just leave yourself in either half Padmasana or swastikasana. Stretch your arms out, interlace your fingers, turn your palms toward me, notice which finger is on top. Reach your arms up into Parvatasana and Padmasana. And I feel, at least with my feet pushing down into the thighs, more descent of the groin, but more ability to get that Uddiyana Bandha feeling through the abdomen. Okay. Then as you exhale, bring your chin down toward your chest. So it's in Jalandhara Bandha. I'm going to be quiet just for a couple of moments so you can feel the flow of energy inside of your torso region. And raise your head up. Release your hands to Urdhva Hastasana. And then see, can you fold forward a little bit in Padmasana? And you do want to go forward if you can do so without crunching the front of the body. Okay? And it may just mean that you lean a tiny, tiny little bit forward to get some release in the groin. It may mean that we've done this a few times now, that you're able to go down a little bit more, keeping that extension in the front body. I feel a lot more sensation, let's say, in the outer hips and lower back when I do this in Padmasana as opposed to swastikasana. Go over to the other side. Really extend. Wiggle your fingers front. If this bothers anyone's knees or ankles, you also back off on that. Don't have to be in full Padmasana. Extend a little bit forward to the other side. And then back forward again. I find it really fascinating how just that little movement to the side really frees up the forward extension. Then stretch your legs out. Into Dandasana. And guess what? Oh, I can really feel that Padmasana work. It's really working to descend the groin more. I can also really feel how much more my thighs are rooted down into the floor, having done that forward folding work in Padmasana. So you just make those observations for yourself. And then Dandasana, Navasana. Navasana, Ubhaya Padangusthasana. Ubhaya Padangusthasana, really extend through those big toes. Then Navasana, Ardha Navasana, Navasana, back into Dandasana. Hopefully those little abdominal work is getting a little bit easier with each repetition. Okay, then foot on the other side. Okay, so you're gonna bring your right leg into Siddhasana. Then put your left foot on top of your right foot for foot on foot for just a little bit of that width and broadening. Then, having done that, take your top left foot just out of the way for a little while. And then move your bottom foot from Siddhasana over to Swastikasana. So when I do that, for me, my right shin is parallel now with the side of the sticky mat. Yours might or might not be. Then I go back to foot on foot, but in doing it, because I shifted the base, right, now I'm at a diagonal. It's totally fine to be at a diagonal. You don't always have to be exactly lined up with your sticky mat. All right, then we're going to do the overshot Padmasana again work, and on the third time, you're going to leave your foot in Padmasana if you can. If you can't, you just sit in Swastikasana, or you can stay in foot on foot. Okay, so put your hands underneath the foot, lift the leg up, and go foot on foot, overshot Padmasana. Back to foot on foot. Feel that width and depth in the groin that comes. I'm even using my left forearm to kind of push down and out a little bit on my leg, and it gives me even more length. Overshot Padmasana, foot on foot, overshot Padmasana, and then sneak your leg into Padmasana, and then turn yourself back into half Padmasana where you're facing toward the screen. So you can stay here and do the arm work and the going forward work, but if Padmasana is available to you, then you bring your foot up into Padmasana. Feel that pressure of the tops of the feet into the thighs helps you to send the groin even more. Stretch your arms out, interlace your fingers, turn your palms toward me, reach your arms up. Remember to switch the interlace if you did. And feel how much more you can release the groin, more extension in the back. Then go ahead and bring your chin down to your chest and see if you can move your arms back a little bit more, opening those arms a little further. Trying to be quiet for a few minutes so you can feel the Mula Bandha from the Padmasana, the Uddiyana Bandha from the uplift of the arms, the lift of the chest and the chin down to the chest for Jalandhara Bandha. Then raise your head up, release your fingers to Urdhva Hastasana. Then again, if you can do so without crunching and rolling your back forward, come forward. Or you just sit in Padmasana, or Swastikasana, or Baddha Konasana, and Upavishta Konasana. Extending forward, feeling the opening on the groin, the release in the hips. And go over to the oh, that feels good. Wow. When you go to the side, more release comes forward. Over to the other side. Oh, that feels good. Come forward. Extend from the pelvis all the way up through the crown of the head. And then try and keep that length as you come back into Padmasana. Then release your legs out of Padmasana. Stretch your legs into Tanasana. Rather than doing the abdominal work this time, we're going to do downward facing dog again. So come onto your hands and your knees. Spread your palms. Turn your biceps forward and your triceps back. Look forward so that thoracic spine comes in. And then push yourself back into downward facing dog. So I'm feeling increasing opening coming into the armpits, more ability for the abdomen to draw in, and more rootedness in my heels. So that opening hip groin work is very important work that you can really feel powerful effect in all the poses. Then, again, rather than walking forward with your feet. Instead, walk back with your hands. And either you can stay in the concave back phase and really work on that. That actually feels really good. You can stay in the concave back phase for a little while, really work on extending through that front body, then try and keep that extension of the front body as you fold forward. And if your back is up to it, you can hold on with your hands and your elbows and get even more extension. If you need the support of your hands or you need to stay in the concave stage, that's also totally fine. You want to make sure that your weight isn't stretching back. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean stretching back, leaning back into your heels. You want to keep the weight over the hips. Or yeah, what you're doing, Chaya. Yeah, there you go, Chaya. That's a lot better. There you go. Okay. Then switch the grip of your elbows if you're doing the elbow grip. Then use your hands. Then pull down a little bit more to coax a little bit more length out. That looks good, Caroline. And everyone make sure their weight isn't leaning back into the heels. Then place your hands on the floor. Come back to the concave stage. See if you can get even more extension through the front of the body, having done that. And place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. Then go ahead and actually stand up. And we're going to do a little bit of Utthita Bakasana work. I think we did this last week, but it's just kind of interesting to me. Okay, so you're going to stand in Tadasana. Again, you can really feel that effect of the front groin bending work. And more opening in the front groin. I also feel from that Padmasana work that my outer hips are a little bit more compact, which is also good. All right, so for Utthita Bakasana, I like to take the support of the wall. So I'm going to turn to the side, hold on to the wall with my right hand, then my left leg up. And first I'm putting the heel right on the middle of the hip. And I'm pulling in as much as my knee will allow. If it hurts your knee, you don't have to pull in or anything. You can even try putting a rope behind your knee. Then take your awareness to the inside of your left pelvic bone and move your foot. Oh, I forgot to say, engage your hamstring and your buttock toward each other. Move your heel from the middle of your buttock out to the side of your buttock like it was more like Virasana. And you should feel that inner groin release. Back to the middle of the buttock. Back to the outside, and you can pull in a little bit more when your heel kind of clears the buttock. And then back to the center, and then kick your foot into your hand and move your knee a little further back. You want to stay upright. You don't want to lean forward at all, but you are moving, kicking really strongly with your foot and your hand against each other, and you'll feel more opening come into that front groin. That's the Supta Virasana backward bending work. All right, then bring that leg down. And when you stand in Tadasana after that, I almost feel uneven. Okay? I feel like I'm tipping kind of over to one side. Okay, so I just want to stay rooted, but I can really feel the additional length that's come into this side of my body, and particularly around the pelvic region. All right, then do the same thing on the other side. So you can turn it. You don't have to hold onto the wall. I just hold onto the wall because it's easier for me to really focus on the work in this hip when I'm not having to worry about staying upright and balancing. But if you want to add that challenge, you're welcome to. Okay, then bend up your knee, put your heel, get your foot with your hand, put your heel right on the middle of the buttock if you can, and then engage your hamstrings and your buttocks toward each other so that the work of the back leg begins that opening of the front body. Then we're going to go from Virasana, Vajrasana foot, moving your heel out to the side so it's more like Virasana. Feel that opening in the front groin. Do that 2 more times from the buttock out, and when you're out, pull in a little bit more. And then after you've done it another time, You put your heel on your back in the middle of the buttock. Make sure your hamstrings and buttocks are engaged. And then kick your foot into your hand, and you can stay as upright as possible, but you can move your knee back behind you so that you really get a real opening in the front groin. All right, and then bring that leg down. Stand in Tadasana, and hopefully you feel a little bit more even now. Then get a blanket. And the first time I have my blanket folded, well, actually, if you've got long shins, you hold it like this when you put it back behind your knee. For me, this orientation works just fine. Okay? And you're going to come first into Vajrasana. Okay, so that means that your knees are together. I got the blanket back behind my knee. And then I'm going to sit down in Vajrasana. You can organize your calf flesh more if you need to. You can also reach back and pull your toes backward. You can reach down and move the knee flesh forward, and all of that should result in your shins feeling a little bit longer and having a little bit more stable seat in the Vajrasana. So Vajrasana, the heels are together. I'm going to come a little bit forward. You might need a brick instead of this blanket. I'm going to fold the blanket the opposite way so it's long. Okay. I'm going to turn around hopefully so you can see my feet. Here's Vajrasana feet where they're together. I move my feet out to Virasana. Okay. And then you can try sitting on the floor. Okay. So I'm going to try that. Pushing down my shins with my hands. Not quite there today. So I can either sit on a brick, but that's actually too much height. So I'm going to take this folded blanket, put it over my ankles, and I'm going to sit down on the blanket going toward the floor. Okay? So we're not going to fold forward in the Virasana. And you can make your knee flesh adjustment. You can make your foot adjustment. One more time, stretch your arms out, interlace your fingers, turn your palms toward me. Reach your arms way, way, way up. Then come into Jalandhara Bandha, move your hands back behind you. And observe the quietude inside. Switch the grip of your fingers. Move your arms further back. And then raise your head up. Release your hands down. Come into another downward facing dog. Put your hands down on the floor. Spread your palms. Turn your triceps. Turn your toes under. And push back into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Downward facing dog. This time, changing things up a little bit. Go ahead and walk forward with your feet. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back. And come all the way up. Okay, so I had the opportunity to take class this week with my teacher, Lori. And she showed me a version of Supta Virasana that I've never done before. Okay. So I wanted to share that with you. But if you need more height in this, or if you need to just do a regular Supta Virasana, like up on a couple of bolsters, do so. So what was interesting about it, hello, there in the Zoom room, is normally, we do Supta Virasana with spine, with the vertical support of the bolster. Okay? So the first thing that was different is she actually turned the bolster horizontally. Okay? So that's where my shoulder blades are gonna go when I'm in the pose. Then she had us stack up blankets so that they're about the same height as the bolster. So I folded blankets. I use 3, and there's a little bit of a spacer between my bolster and my stack of blankets. I'm getting another blanket, hold on. If you want padding for your knees, you're free to feel free to take it. But what you're gonna do, actually, hold on a second, I'm gonna switch the angle a little bit. Is you're gonna come into Supta Virasana. It's really almost more like a Paryantasana. Okay. So you're gonna sit down between your buttocks. If you need something between your buttocks and the floor, do so. You're gonna put the bolster, well, first, you can just lean back on your elbows first. Okay? And feel how your front groin's feeling. Then you're gonna lie on your bolster, let your shoulders come into that gap between the bolster and your head. And here you are with horizontal support in Supta Virasana. And it feels really nice and broadening, at least for me, across the chest. You might need a blanket on top of the bolster. That's completely possible. You might still need to have your little blanket sling for your buttock. I think that would have worked well for me. But if it doesn't work for you, that's really okay. You can go back to, you could even just lean back a little bit. Don't worry about going all the way into full Supta Virasana. Or you can abandon the project, sit in Virasana again, and just lean yourself back a little bit. So you get some opening in the groin. But if you can manage this new setup, it's really pretty nice. You've got that horizontal bolster support. You've got the shoulders releasing down, so you're getting lots of nice opening in the chest. And you've got nice blanket support so for the back of the neck. It's really good. So I'm gonna look and see, those of you I can see how it's going. Yeah, there you go, Chaya, that looks good. Yeah, that looks very good. So is that Pratima, can you, yeah, that's really great opening in the front of the body. That also looks good, Sugi. Yeah, everyone I can see that that looks beautiful, Marsha. That's really a lot of opening in the front groin. Again, if I'm not saying anything, it's either because you have your video off, which is, again, completely fine, completely acceptable way to take a Zoom class, or just your computer is set up such that I can't actually see you in the pose. And I also don't care that you move your computer a lot. It's just, if you want feedback from time to time, you can make those adjustments. But just know if I'm not calling on you, it's because I can't see you, all right? Okay, good job, everyone. Those of you I can see, it looks great, so I'm also assuming it was great for everyone else. And then come forward and do downward facing dog again. Just come forward where you are, turn your toes under, and then come into Adho Mukha Svanasana one more time. I mean, maybe not just one more time, but. All right, I'm gonna sneak something on you here. Okay, ready? From downward facing dog, come forward into upward facing dog. And if you come all the way onto the fronts of your feet, if you can, and what you should really feel is lots of opening right in that front groin from having done all of this work. If upward facing dog hurts your lower back or anything, you don't have to do it. You can just stay in downward facing dog, but now come back to downward facing dog. Then one more time, go forward into Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, really feeling that opening in the front groin. Or stay in downward facing dog if Urdhva Mukha is not appropriate for you. Great. Then, but that doesn't look nice, everyone. Come back into downward facing dog. Then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up and really feel that opening in the front groin for Tadasana. All right, now what you're gonna do is lay down on the floor for a little bit more groin work. Okay, so come into Supta Tadasana first. Might need to move your stuff out of the way. Okay, then after you lie down on the floor, bend your knees. Sorry, I'm wearing a black shirt and I'm on a black mat, so I'm going to put a white blanket over my black mat. Okay. You don't in any way need a blanket. And in fact, I still want my feet on the sticky mat, so I'm just making the white mat on my black shirt and my feet are bent. Okay. Then hold on to the sides of the sticky mat with your hands and pull the sticky mat away from you. So you can feel that lower back get longer. And probably you felt your abdomen draw in toward your spine. Then bring your right knee, bend your right knee completely and pull it in toward your abdomen. Though it also feels good to move the knee off to the side so that there isn't, actually that will work better for what we're doing. Rather than pulling your knee straight in so that the thigh is kind of on the side of the abdomen, angle the knee out a little bit wider, okay, so that there isn't the same, and you get a different release in the groin. Okay? And then you'll pull your leg in a little bit. Okay, so now the fold of the knee is closed. Then let your foot come, or your leg come into a 90-degree angle. Then you're going to put your arm on the inside of your leg, or you can just go out to Supta Padangusthasana 2. That would be a good thing to do as well. And I've lifted my abdomen up, and I'm using my arm to pull that leg down a little bit more. Lower your head down, then extend your left leg out straight, and you'll feel that same opening in the front groin that you did in Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. And put that foot on the floor. Put the other foot back on the floor and feel the release that came into the right groin from having done that little Supta Padangusthasana work. And do your second side. Okay. You're going to bend the knee. Again, rather than having the knee go straight up sort of toward the head, move the knee out to the side, okay, and pull in. And you'll feel a different sense of release in the groin. So flex your foot. Right now, the knee is what I call closed. Okay? So when I say open the fold of the knee, what I mean is you bring the leg into a 90-degree angle. Okay? See how my leg is at 90 degrees. Then I'm going to do a little bit of a sit-up so I can hook my arm and my upper arm on my hamstrings. Okay? And then I push down with my arm, rest the head back down, and then stretch that right leg out straight, and you feel that opening in the front groin again, like you felt hopefully when we were doing that Urdhva Mukha Svanasana stuff. All right, and then bend the right leg back up, bend the left leg back up. Then you're gonna roll to your side, and we're gonna set up for a different way of doing Chatushpadasana than I've ever done before too. Okay. So I've got my blanket, I'm folding it back into headstand shape, Okay. And then from there, I'm gonna tri-fold it. Okay, so it's a long, skinny, tri-folded blanket, right? I know that I like to use a strap for Chatushpadasana, so I'm gonna get the strap. Then, okay, for me, I actually almost exactly fit on the blanket, okay? But I'm gonna move back so that my head is off the blanket, but my feet, my buttocks are on the blanket. Okay? So your head is just a little bit lower. Then, and you should feel that that little spine-wise support right here is letting your shoulder bones release down, and you should feel a corresponding more opening than usual when you're flat on the floor from Chatushpadasana. If you can grab your ankles easily, go ahead and do so. If Chatushpadasana is like too much on your lower back or strain, you can just come into like a bolster or Satyabandha, or actually Supta Baddha Konasana would be good to do. You get a similar effect here. Then lasso your ankles with the strap. Walk in so that your hands are closer to your feet, or as close to your feet as you can. And then press your feet down and lift your buttocks up toward the ceiling. Move your hamstrings and your buttocks toward each other, and you really feel that opening in the front groin. Tuck your shoulders underneath you. Pull on the strap or pull on your ankles, and you really feel maximal opening in the chest in this Chatushpadasana. Then lower yourself back down. Feel that opening in the chest. And you're gonna do that 2 more times. Okay. Maintaining the ground, let's say, that you got from doing the Chatushpadasana like this. Press your feet down, tuck your shoulders more, lift up, very good. Everyone looks like they could benefit from keeping their knees a little bit closer together. It's like pretend like you had a break between your knees. That looks good. Nice open chest, Pratima, very good. Okay. Then lower yourself back down. Have your knees a little bit closer together. There you go. That's perfect, Sugi. There you go. Good. All right, one more time. All right. Press your feet down, lift your buttocks up high. Tuck your shoulders underneath you. And then lower yourself all the way down. Okay. So that's Chatushpadasana with your head is off of your setup. Okay. Now you're going to have to change a little bit, because now you actually want your head on the blanket, and my buttocks are now off the blanket. So I just move kind of forward on the blanket. Okay, we're not going to push up into Urdhva Dhanurasana. In fact, where we're going is toward Dvipada Viparita Dandasana, but we're going to do an Urdhva Dhanurasana prep. So I've got the strap that's about the size of my elbows. It's basically like a shoulder stand strap. Okay. And I put it on above my elbows, and I'm just going to put my hands above my head. Okay. I have to have my fingers turned out. Okay. But you'll feel that there's a lot going on when you put your arms over your head like this. Okay. Or at least for me, particularly with the strap, because it really keeps the elbows in. I have my palms fingers turned out just because it's easier on my shoulders. But I'm going to also try with my fingers going straight back toward my feet and challenge the arms a little bit. And just see what the belt is telling you about the status of your shoulders and your arms. All right, then what you're going to do is tuck your shoulders underneath you, press your feet down. You're not coming all the way up into Urdhva Dhanurasana. What you're going to do instead is press your feet down, lift your buttocks up high, hamstrings and buttocks toward each other. Push down with your hands and just see, can you just slide yourself onto the crown of your head? Yeah, so it's still an Urdhva prep. Your strap might get a little bit in the way, but see if you can do that, and then don't even try and push up. Just come to the crown of your head. Okay. Yeah, but you want your arms bent, Pratima. Are they bent? Yeah, there. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, like you were gonna push it. So your palms go flat on the floor, but with your elbows bent. It doesn't look like your elbows are bent, but that's okay. All right. And then come down and rest and do it one more time. Yeah. Okay, the belt is just there to keep your elbows in. Then you're gonna keep your elbows bent, okay? But you put your palm, that's it, Pratima. Now just keep on going and put your hands on the floor. There you go. Then press your hands down and see if you can just slide onto the crown of the head. If you can't, you can't. It's okay. It's like this sequence, I would call it a slow boat to Dvipada Viparita Dandasana. Okay. All right, then come down. Take your strap off. So I guess you could use it. Okay. Dvipada Viparita Dandasana, we normally do on a chair. But there is a non-chair version of the pose. Okay. Though for some people, you could just go ahead and do the back bend over a chair. Yeah, but your fingers are interlaced in headstand and they're behind your head, okay? And you're on your forearms and the top of the head, okay? So that's what we're doing. So we're gonna try and do that now up on this little head support, okay? And so it looks like this. You can just watch once and then try it yourself. Or you can just, you know, if you've had enough for today, it's been a pretty hard class, you can be in like legs up the wall pose a little bit early. My buttocks are on the floor. My head is on the blanket. Okay. I press my feet down, lift the buttocks up high, tuck the shoulders underneath me, put my hands on the floor with my elbows up toward the ceiling. Then I do what I did before. I slide to the crown of the head. Then I try with my fingers underneath the blanket, I try and come into Dvipada Viparita Dandasana. My hands aren't really all the way underneath my head right now, but it's a really nice opening in the armpits and the chest that you can experience. Okay, so just give it a go. If it doesn't work, you can stay in the Urdhva Dhanurasana prep. Okay. Or you can go into a chair back bend, or you can just say, I'm really ready to do legs up the wall pose. But if you want to try it, you lie, and you don't need to use the strap if you're trying the Dvipada, okay? So press your feet down and lift your buttocks up high. Really engage your hamstrings and your buttocks a lot so the groin is open. Tuck your shoulders underneath you and then bring your hands over your head like you were gonna push up into that Urdhva Dhanurasana prep again. All right, then come to the crown of the head. Keep your shoulders well lifted and see if you can interlace your fingers behind your head, either on top of the blanket or underneath the blanket. It's even more opening in the armpits. Vicky, move your knees a little bit closer together and then you just slide back down. All right. Give it 2 more goes if you've got it in you. If you don't, you don't. You just do a downward facing dog and then go into legs up the wall pose, okay? Okay, so 1 more time, and your feet are, or 2 more times, your feet are on the floor, your head's on the blanket, push up like you're doing Urdhva Dhanurasana prep. Okay? Then from Urdhva Dhanurasana prep, see if you can that's a good idea, Vicky. Interlace your fingers underneath your head. There you go. And you sneak yourself into full Dvipada Viparita Dandasana. All right, good job. All right. All right. If you want 1 more, you can do 1 more, but we're running out of time. Okay. So after you've done whatever is your last one, do 1 more downward facing dog, but this time, unless you're in legs up the wall pose or Supta Baddha Konasana already, this time put your heels up the wall a little bit and do a downward facing dog. Then walk forward with your feet a little bit. Lean your buttocks back to the wall. And do a Parshva Uttanasana to one side, a Parshva Uttanasana to the other side. Then do a quick Prasarada Padottanasana, putting your hands on your ankles, lifting your shoulders up. And then come into legs up the wall pose. All right, good job, everyone. And then go ahead and end in Viparita Karani, either with the bolster underneath your buttocks or just with yourself flat on the floor. Let your, nice Sugi, good leg action. A little bit more extension through the inner heels, Melinda. That looks good, Marsha. Good, Chaya. Good. Pratima, everyone looks good. Let your eyes release into the back of your head. Let your tongue release away from the roof of your mouth. Unclench your jaw. Let the back of the throat release. Let the sides of the throat release. Let the base of the throat release. Let your ears draw inward. Completely relax the features of your face. Become quiet within. You notice the effect on your groin, your abdomen, your chest, your breathing. We've got 4 minutes left, so if you want to stay in legs up the wall pose, you can, or if you want to move to traditional Shavasana, now's the time. Take the Shavasana that your body needs. Might mean that you want to put your legs up on a chair or put something underneath your legs. You might want to continue with the openness of the chest and have something underneath your chest. And just do the Shavasana that speaks to you. Again, let your facial features relax. Let your senses of perception draw inward. Feel that quietude within. The seat of your own true self. The dwelling place of your own true splendor. That's the space that we're trying to come to through the practice of yoga. Those of you in legs up the wall pose, go ahead and bend your knees and push yourself away from the wall. And then roll it to the right side. Those of you in Shavasana, bend your knees, roll to your right side, and use your hands to push yourself back up. Sit up straight and tall, lift your chest well, close your eyes and fold your palms together to your heart. Observe the effect that your practice has on you. Observe it on every layer of your being, from the physical to the most deeply spiritual. In gratitude to the benefit you receive from your practice of yoga, in gratitude to the people who have the opportunity to learn and study and practice yoga with, and in gratitude to the lineage of Hatha Yoga itself, as practiced by BKS Iyengar, reaching back to the sages of India, and down through a line of teachers and students to you, here on the mat in Austin, Texas, or wherever you happen to be in the world, through the miracle of Zoom. Namaste. Happy Saturday, everyone. Good to see everyone. Bye, Vicky. Bye, Marcia. Bye, Gay and Cliff. Bye, Chaya, Melinda, Suzette, Fatima, Carolyn, Sugi, Kristen, Radhika. It's lovely to practice with you. Have a good day. Good weekend.